Hello, everyone. Welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Ashish Goyal, who is the co-founder of Fibe, which was formerly known as Ali Salary, which is a fintech app that allows users to get quick and easy loans in form of microcredit. Hi, Ashish. Welcome to ELI.
Thank you very much, Priya. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
To start with, I would request you to introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about your background, early life, whatever things you did before entrepreneurship. So just tell that to set the context, and then we will talk about five.
Yeah, sure. Whenever I talk about childhood and everything, it is quite nostalgic. So I grew up in Rajasthan. I did my early days of education and early days of grooming in Rajasthan. My family comes from a business background, so I have a early test of what entrepreneurship means. Rather, when I started my job, I was the first one in my family who started the job. Till that, everyone else was was running their own businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So I think destiny was there for me to start on my own at some point in time. Uh, After that, I came to Pune in about 1997, did my CA. I worked with Citibank for a year, and then I worked for 14 years with Bajaj Allianz, the insurance company. It was starting, and spent my entire career with them. Out of which last 8 years, it was more of the investment profile, where I was managing investments for them. I was their chief investment officer,
Mm-hmm.
managing close to 1,000 crores for them. And that's where I started thinking around what next for me. And early salary came into picture at that point in time in around 2015, and we started on those lines.
Got it. Uh, Walk us through the process of building this hypothesis that a product like early salary is required in India. What all research did you do, and what did you find out about the audience or the target customer base that you are targeting?
Uh, so, if you look at India, there are two, three things which is very unique about India, and especially these times. One is that the target market is huge. If you take a product, any product can be built in. There is I think that there is no product which is saturated in India. You
Mm-hmm.
can always find an opportunity to build it. So it's a very, very high execution business market. Unlike many other markets, you need to really, really be at the top of doing the execution piece. Now, coming specifically to early salary, uh, if you look at it, especially the youngsters when they are in their 20s, there is there is always a shortage of fund. There is always a need of extra cash. There is always a need. How do you really can make your aspiration meet? And with that kind of a thesis, we said that there is a need for us to be there. And
Okay.
when we look at the traditional landscape, looking at the banks, etc., I believe that they are not there. There is a missing gap which does not get fulfilled by the current financial landscape, which means that there is a need to have somebody who can actually lend 20, 30, 40, 50,000 rupees to a consumer,
Mm-hmm.
because the generally the current ecosystem does not lend to them. Purely the problem statement is that it just doesn't make revenue sense. It is very, very tough to find these consumers. Second, we don't want to do this kind of a business because there is enough money can be deployed at people who earn 1 lakh rupees, and you can give them 5 lakh rupees, and the current ecosystem was built around that. And
Mm-hmm.
we saw that as an opportunity, saying that there is a large India. I believe that there is almost 20 crore Indians who will fall into this bucket where you can go and service them. And with that kind of a mindset, I left my job and said that let's try to build a financial inclusion for the next generation of India, middle India, and how can we really build aspirations around them. And that was the pain point which started, because in my early days as an investment banker, also I have looked at many of these companies and the banks and etc., and realized that the keenness of them to do this kind of a product is very low. And there is a ecosystem which has already been in place where which can help us in building these things very, very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And with that purpose, with that kind of a dream, we I left my job and started early salary.
And I think recently you shifted gears by rebranding early salary into
Right.
Fibe. What is
Uh,
the thought process behind that?
so, when you start early, Priya Ranjan, you always have one theme. You always look at one problem statement saying that this is something which I can build big. In financial services, everything can be built big, and from that perspective, there is something which you can continue to build on it. But as you become large, there is always an ability to do more than what you started with. As we started changing gears, we started getting into funding education, we started getting into funding healthcare, we started getting into funding insurance. Recently we just started announced a solar panel financing also. So where if somebody is putting a rooftop solar panel, which is a government of India's large initiative, we are ready to fund those panels for the consumer to ensure that they can pay over 2 to 3 years period those money. When you look at all this kind of a product mix which we are doing it, early salary name was looking very restrictive, and it was giving a particular flavor because it has meaning. And that's where the name change happened from early salary to Five. Five means financial vibes. It resonates with my consumers, because we are here to build finance ki nayi vibe, and that was the core thought process with which we started changing the name from early salary to Five, because Five gives me an opportunity to really do everything in financial services. I can actually, and it resonates with all the things. And our core thesis or the core aspiration is to build Five as a verb, just like we have many things which resonates, like Xerox resonates the copy machine. It's actually a company, not a service, but it's
Hmm.
still we talk about that, like Paytm Karo. So similarly, we want to build where the people start thinking Five as a verb, and people start using it. And our core aspiration is to build that kind of a financial services where customer trust us, customer can find all his financial needs meet through us, be it deposits, be it lending, be it everything. And that is our core remains, to continue to build on servicing this consumer who may be underserved from the banking system, and can we build a lot more easier interface customer experience for him to do it. The biggest differentiator which we are achieving, and we remain very focused on, is to build a best in class customer experience for the consumers. How can we use technology, the AI, the analytics frameworks to ensure that the customer can get best in class services from us? Customer, also our ability to break the old barriers, like how can the customer can get everything on a mobile application is very critical. Today many of the things, I'm pretty sure, if you want to close your bank account, you need to go to a bank, and there will be 10 times it will go to and fro before you can close accounts. But here it's absolutely on the app. The customer can just come on the app, click a button, and everything can be done. We really don't want our consumers to, if customer has decided, it is better to provide him that service, and that's what the motto remains. Of course we need to ensure that he doesn't decide to close with us, because that's critical for us to maintain our consumer base and continue to ensure that we are providing best in class services.
Got it. Uh, can you tell us about the risk assessment process that you do, especially for the type of customers who do not have a credit history? Uh, so what many fintech apps do is they kind of go through the messages, past messages of a person to see what kind of transaction someone is having, and then see the transaction history from different other third party sources. So that's the process they do. I am curious to understand what is the process that you have in place, if there are any new age technologies in place like AI to predict the credit worthiness of a person.
So it's a very interesting question. It's very core to us. The risk assessment is the core to any financial services company. The companies cannot be built without having a very strong focus on risk assessment, and that's where we invested a lot. Today we have an analytics team whose core work is to build risk models. Their core work is to build risk frameworks, which allows us to underwrite that customer. When we say underwrite, it means that whether we need to give money to him or not, and this all happens automatically. There is a very strong AI models has been built, which allows us to underwrite these customers on a go. It's like we can, if a customer comes at 12 o'clock in the night, he can be underwritten with the system without any human intervention. Before we go deeper into it, let's talk a little bit more on the product side, because that will give a flavor what all we do and how we do it and what is our customer. If you look at today, let's first define customer needs. India is going through a very, very massive consumption boom. India in last 10 years and the next 10 years, India is very, very different. The generational differences are dropping very, generational shift is happening very, very fast. It is no more at 15, 20 years of generation change. It is happening every 7 or 10 years. There is a generation gap. Like my son was telling me that now it's a generation beta, which is starting, and generation alpha is over and all the stuff. So there is a big change which is happening, and the businesses has to adapt to those changes. The
Mm,
products has to adapt to those changes to say that what kind of products you are offering to that consumer. Are you still offering the customers who are baby boomers, or you are offering the customers the convenience, the product mix, the flexibility, or the language of talking to them, or the customer experience, what the next generation is. And that's where the core of the company lies. How do you really interact with the customer? How do you really treat him? How do you really ensure that his needs are met? And we have done a deep work on it. Today, if you look at any consumer, the customer needs can be defined into various forms. Today, the customer is looking for experiences. Customer is looking for aspirational purchases. Customer is looking to coming from smaller towns to the larger cities, and wanted to upgrade his life to the next level. And
mm,
that's where we come to picture, saying that how can we do that piece. So first thing what we do with them is that can we provide them a skill upgradation courses. So today we allow our consumers to actually finance their skill upgradation courses. So that we work with many of these companies, or many of the education companies who provide this kind of courses. That can be private companies, that can be universities, that can be the coaching institutes, vocational things. Along with them, we try to ensure that the customers' skill upgradation happens. And we believe it's a big impact, because it allows the consumer to upgrade their salaries, upgrade to the next level of education, etc. That's the first thing which we do, which allows customer to remain with us for a long time, because once the customer is taken from us, he may come back to after completing his courses, after finding a new job, he might come back to us still for the next loans from us. While doing so, we also do coaching. So let's say today there is a very, very limited ability of the people to fund their kids IITs, or the needs, or the CA education, or the UPSC education, coaching institutes fees. It's much easier once you get into a MBA college to get a loan from a bank, but there is hundreds of different education use cases, or the parameters where the education loans are not available.
mm.
So we have decided to invest a lot, whether it is schools, colleges, coachings, skill upgradation institutes like Upgrade, etc., to say that how can we really underwrite and fund those consumers. And it needs a differentiated underwriting, because you need to take into account how much he can earn once he get placed to the next level of jobs. So it needs a differentiated underwriting from that perspective. Second, when you look at the consumers customer needs today, from an impact perspective, healthcare, which is again something where we think that it is much easier to finance a mobile phone today than finding a loan when you are at the hospitals. Do you
Mm.
agree with? It is
Yes.
much easier to go to Chroma and get a. There will be seven guys who are ready to give you a mobile phone and EMI, but if you walk into a hospital, you might not find anybody to fund it. So we decided as a company, saying that this is something which is a large problem statement. There is a large market out there. Can we solve it? No, and that's where we're investing a lot of our time at this point in time as we speak on building capabilities, risk management, reaching out to the consumers, reaching out to the merchants, reaching out to the hospitals, clinics, etc. How can we really provide a funding to these consumers at the doorstep at the hospitals? So, and this is a work in progress. We do a large business out here, but our aspirations and our thinking is that it's a very, very large market out there which you can fund
Yes.
it. Third, which we started what we call as solar panel financing. The solar panels are something which is today's government's key initiative, where they want to ensure that a lot of homes has solar panels on the top of that. And we think that it's a large opportunity to fund, especially in tier 2, tier 3 cities, especially in the states where there is a ample sunlight comes, which generally in entire India it happens. So it gives you a large opportunity to fund from a very good quality consumers. And then comes the cash loans or personal loans. We provide anybody who comes to us can just download my app on a user experience. If he's constantly engaging with me in 2 to 3 minutes, he can complete the application, can apply for a loan. From our side, the loans will get approved within a second, and it will provide an ability of the customer to get a wow experience. That's our core product where we provide money to customers' bank account. It needs a differentiated underwriting. If put all those things together, what we are doing, we are really building a consumption brand. We are really building something what can meet the customer's aspirations. We are here to build that aspiration for the middle India, which is a missing piece in the current context. And all these things are leading towards building that story of impact where we are allowing the customer to do the education, we are allowing customer to do healthcare, we are allowing customers for the energy savings or the green initiatives, as well as we also allow our consumers to live their life by borrowing from us. So all those things are coming together to really create an ecosystem for the consumer. And our
Mhm.
customer generally, you can say that who earns from, let's say, 20,000 rupees to 50 60,000 rupees. Many of them comes from a smaller town to the nearby cities or the larger metros where the aspirations levels are very high and they want to live that aspiration levels. Most of them are educated. Most of them are salaried working somewhere, and those are the opportunities which allows us to really build business at a scale. Today, we operate in 700 plus cities, but we don't have any branches, which again testimony towards how do we really underwrite and pick the consumers. Now coming to the core question, saying that how do you really underwrite these consumers? The ability to underwrite the customer lies into two folds. One is how do you really look at the data dispassionately. The data comes from many sources, but most of these sources are something which you call as banking data. So like say I might look at your bank statement. See, looking at the bank statement itself is an art. One can look at just the bank statement, look at the salary. Okay, he's getting 60,000 rupees. Let me give him 2 lakh rupee loan. Or you come back and say that while he looks at 60,000 rupees, but he's spending 20,000 on rent, he's spending 5,000 a year, he has a SIP going on, he has these things, that thing, which gives me a much better persona of the customer. And
Right.
ability to build that persona using AI as well as your models is very, very high. Similarly, we look at the customer's past tech records. We look at the customer's ability to repay in the past. So over a period of time, based on all this data, we have created uh, more than 7 8,000 variables which goes into a scorecard. A scorecard is, of course, at the end of the day comes down to 10 20 variables, but the scorecard built up process has huge variable inputs, which allows me to really aggregate disaggregate the customers into a various segregations, allow me to really create very very minute pointed personalized offer for him, and also manage my credit risk in a much better way. At the end of the day, our businesses are where whatever money is gone out, you need to recover the money to ensure that you are profitable, because it's much easier to give money. It's at the end of the day, if you have given to the right set of people, money will come. Otherwise, the business at risk. So there is a good amount of time goes into really building those stuff.
Got it. And you spoke about AI. Very curious to know what sort of AI technologies are in place and what are the use cases.
So there are multiple use cases into financial services for two three reasons. One, the amount of data which we have is humongous. It allows us to really build internal models to see that how can you use it. There are use cases which are typically everybody is talking about, saying that you can automate the customer interactions. You can actually deploy chatbots. You can actually deploy voice bots. These are something which we are already doing. Like if somebody uses my app and wants to chat to somebody, most of the times 80 to 90% of the answers will be given by AI, and there will be very small numbers which will go to a manual intervention. So those are the things which we have already did. The biggest use of AI, it comes into the picture. How can you really look for the underlying trends which are not visible through scorecards? When
Hmm.
you put those data into models, it throws up much interesting data points which allows you to underwrite, which allows you to reassess the way you are looking at the customer in a differentiated way. Apart from that, there is a huge amount of AI work happens into the way the customer spoke to you, the customer ability, and that from there you can judge the customer. How can you really assist that customer better in either taking the loan or repaying the loan back to you. You can really build your models, thinking, and ability to pinpointedly answer those questions and solve the customer pain points. So the AIs are used to, I'll give you one example. Today, uh, we have photographs of the consumers,
Mhm.
because when there is an application, the customer gives the photograph. On the photograph there is always a background, there is a customer standing in a particular dress, etc. Based on that, we have built affluence scores saying that ki, how much the customer actually looks like earning. If the customer is standing with a background which is quite rustic, or looks like a thing, or what kind of if the customer is claiming 1 lakh rupee but the dressing doesn't look like a salaried person. So all those things are somewhere where the AI is making a lot of differences. The fraud is another piece where the AI is, because many of the frauds are not so visible from the eyes, but when you put them through the system and when you look at it, they provide a very, very razor sharp outcomes.
Uh, can you tell us about the different challenges that you have faced over the year? I think it's been about a decade since you are running this company. What are some ups and downs that you have seen along the way? I think um demonetization was along the way, and so was COVID, and many other such small and big hiccups along the way. So, can you tell us about that? Where did you struggle? How did you come out of it? Tell us about it.
So I always say that if there is no challenge in life, then I need to go and find a challenge, because there is something which I'm missing. As an entrepreneur, you always need to be on the toes to ensure that you are aware about things, you are solving the problem statements, and you can relax. You should relax for the bit, but you should always be on the lookout, saying that ki, how my businesses can become larger, and if there are challenges, how they can remain a very, very, they can come out of those crises in a much smarter ways. uh, so when we started this business, if we count from the challenges, a global challenges perspective, like you rightly said, demon came.
Mm.
Post that, many of the listeners as well as you must remember, there was a entire saga of couple of NBFCs like DHFL, etc., went through their own crisis,
Mm.
followed by a bank. And as soon as those saga was over, the COVID was there. And post that, there are regulatory changes which RBI is doing for last couple of years, which in our mind is not a challenges, but they need a change in the way you work on ensuring that peace.
Mhm.
One thing I learned over a period of this period, that the biggest thing what beats everything is the consistency. How have you really been very, very consistent in your approach? There were days when we didn't have the money to give it to our consumers. There were days, so you need to find solutions. Those solutions can be out of box. Those solutions can be something which not everyone has it. Um, so so and you need to really solve the problem statement given at that point in time. Like, just to give an example, when post demon, or during COVID, there was a huge amount of uncertainty in everybody's mind. On 20th of March, when we assembled after the lockdown, just like every other NBFC, the biggest thing on our mind was that whether the money will come from the consumers or not, or how you can support the consumers. Should you give more money to the consumers at this point in time? And there were no clear answers, because there is no history which can be looked at and seen, and from that perspective. So it was absolutely a new thing in front of us, and when I say us, it is entire industry. But as the time passed and you started looking from a very, very simple perspective, that we need to keep the customer in between, because at the end of the day, from a long term perspective, customer is the one who is going to pay the money back, or the pay the your bills and everything. So you need to keep the customer in the middle. Second, you need to ensure that the organization goes through this in a very, very nice way, and does not go to a level where you are at a crisis level, and you manage those things. So we started making a lot of changes at that point in time. Like we strengthen our collection teams, we strengthen our services teams, transfer a lot of people from other departments to take calls and make calls to the consumers, both from a hygiene perspective as well as to solve their problem statements. And we did it very, very consciously with a effort saying that at the end of the day, you need to keep your long term in mind and build product and processes which can allow you to do it. And when we look back, most of the time I have seen that any challenges is was actually something which made us stronger, because we always went into challenge with a belief that this challenge will make us better. It is just like exercise. You go into the exercise, it's a pain for that 1 hour, but at the end, on a day-to-day basis, it is making you stronger.
Mm,
Uh, so the thing which I spoke about education, I spoke about healthcare, I spoke about my other businesses, they all started or started shaping up in during COVID. We actually started all these projects during COVID, saying that look, what more we should do, how we can help. So like education became first. Of course, we started from an online basis, saying that there is a lot of online education which is happening, and can we fund them? No, because there was an opportunity. And from there, of course, it evolved. We went into various other aspects, and now education has become a very, very core business for us. Similarly, healthcare, because when you look around during the COVID, healthcare was on the top of everybody's mind. But it took us a year to come out in the healthcare businesses, but it was something which we saw as a big opportunities. No, so every challenges is an opportunity. The most of the time, anybody who is building businesses has to see that they are building businesses with a mindset saying that if something goes wrong, what kind of options they have. Many times, the classical mistakes is made is saying that we hired too many people, we we spend money on the processes which we should not spend. We spend money on building brands at the very early stage which may not be needed, depending on business. I'm not generalizing it, there might be things, but general levels, we need to be very, very conscious about the fact that how do we really are we hiring too many people, are we having right set of processes, are we having right set of product in our mind. Many times we just get married to the product. So there is multifaceted thinking has to be done. Founder, at the entrepreneur, at the end of the day, is responsible for everything, starting from the most small work in the company, admin job, to meeting the investor, to meeting the customer, to building the technology. And there is hundreds of tasks which the founders has to do. And that's where the ability to prioritize, ability to rationalize comes into picture. And that is the biggest learning which I have during these challenges, saying that can you remain very, very calm, can you remain saying that look, this time shall also pass, and are you building the processes during good times also to ensure that you are building a company with a 10-year horizon at least. Then most of the problem statements will not come in, purely because your fundings can get delayed. There are like I still remember when we were looking to raise one of the rounds, we met almost 100%, 100 plus investors. At the end, you need only one investor to say yes, okay, but there are 99 who said no to us. So there is a there is a time which can be uncertain. One has to be really ready for multitasking, but ensuring that your entire businesses are run together. Each part of the businesses are very, very crucial.
got it. Well, here is my final question, and then we'll close. How do you see the future of lending, especially the digital lending, which is rapidly growing in India? What is the future in, say, let's talk about next 5 years? I foresee all the traditional banks entering this space. I foresee a lot of fintech apps which are not doing digital lending. They'll also jump into the space because it's growing very fast. A lot of demand in the market. So, how do you foresee the 5 years?
So I am absolutely uh, clear in my mind that digital lending is going to go and become a very, very big piece of everyone's life, whether it is a bank, whether it is a large NBFC, whether it is a fintech. When I say fintech, I'm not talking about the fintechs who are doing wealth management or something. I'm talking about the lending fintechs. It is going to become very large because of the simple thing. There are two, three factors which at work. One is that people don't want to really visit branches. They
Mm-hmm.
want digital experiences. So the banks has to become digital. While India, fortunately, already the most of the large banks are very, very digital savvy.
Right.
There are processes which are delayed, but at the end of the day, they are very, very digital savvy. Like I have not visited my branch in last 10 years. No, everything is happening through the digital mobile app or the website. So I don't see that the digital lending is a in the context is going to go down. It is going to become very, very large, or rather, the context of traditional banking will change to digital lending. What is more interesting is that there are new consumers, there are new set of people who were not having access to the capital are getting access to the capital, which because it can be delivered digitally.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Biggest differentiator is the point saying that the delivery cost goes down when you do digitally, because
Right.
now sitting in Pune I can service 700 cities, which I could not have able to do it, or anybody would have done it in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So but that customer is now getting serviced purely because I am servicing it. I don't believe that the banks will service that consumers, and with that kind of a mindset, I think digital lending will become very large, and over a period of time, um, the biggest thing which will be the winners is the consumer, not the banking system. It is a consumer, the new consumer who are coming into the system, the old customers who are getting benefited purely because the delivery is digital. With AI, a lot of customer interaction will also change. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
ability of the customer to the companies to go deeper into looking at the customer profiles will increase. So I think anybody who is not thinking digital, I don't think they will exist in 5 years. So it's not a question whether the banks will do it or not. Everybody is doing it. Whoever can do it better will be a winner. But everybody will become digital, or everybody is already digital, and but the digitals will continue to grow. Idea should be that are we bringing new consumers into the fold, which I believe a lot more is happening there. Like the credit card penetration is increasing because of that. We are able, our ability to give small ticket sizes loan has gone up because of the digital operations, and
Mm-hmm.
it will continue to grow as the time passes.
Understood. All right. I think on this note, we'll close the session. Thanks for joining us, Ashish.
Thank you very much, Priya Ranjan. Absolute fun to have, be here. Thank you very much.
Likewise.